Hello, good to see you. Hyperactivity and autism is our topic today. I was a bit late today. I had stuff to attend to. But good to see you all the same. Do you have a child on the spectrum? Do you know a child who's on the spectrum? Have you experienced them having hyperactivity? Don't forget, hyperactivity is different from meltdown. Tantrum. Within the week, we had talked about tantrum. We have talked about meltdown, the difference between tantrum and meltdown. But today we are talking about hyperactivity. Hyperactivity. Temilade Rose Douglas, good to see you. Good to have you on the live. Abhinav, hello Abhinav, good to see you. Welcome Temilade. We are talking about hyperactivity in autism today.
Alright.
Hyperactivity. I am in the UK, but I'm a Nigerian, Abhinav. I am from Nigeria. Thank you for joining me. How about you? Where you joining me from? Abhinav, where are you joining me from? Josh Hamilton, good to see you. David Perry, Lisa Reed. Oh, Abhinav, good to know you are in India. I'll be in India next month. I'm coming to Mumbai next month. Good to know that you're joining me from there. Yeah, we love you too. We have a lot of Indians in Nigeria, actually. We have a whole lot of Indians in Nigeria. And we also have Clary Berens from St. Vincent. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Josh Hamilton, Mr. James William. Good to see you. Carrie, how is St. Vincent? How is St. Vincent today? Becky Freeman, thank you. Daddy's baby girl, good to see you. Oh, you're a full-time traveler. Have you been to Nigeria? Abhinav, have you been to Nigeria or the UK? Welcome to our live program. Forgive me, I am speaking with some people on the YouTube channel. But yes, tonight we are discussing about hyperactivity in autism. So autism is a multifaceted condition. It has a lot of faces, a lot of Oh, you've been to UK twice. No friends in Nigeria. Now I'm your friend in Nigeria. So when next you come, just let me know. And I will take you to joints where you will enjoy Nigerian delicacies. Very well, Abhinav. Even in the UK, if you come to UK, I will take care of you too. So, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks so much. So, when we are referring to hyperactivity in autism, we know that a lot of children can be, really active. We know when a child is everywhere, they can't seem to relax. No, he's not like that. As long as he don't make trouble with me, he's not like that. Sorry. So when a child just cannot seem to sit down, we know a lot of, especially male children, who are like really active, they are playing football this minute, they are jumping around next minute, they are everywhere every time. But believe me, when it is real hyperactivity in children with autism, it's a different ball game. It's a different thing entirely. When you see that a child can barely even sit down to eat, it becomes a big challenge. A child can barely sit down in classroom. A child cannot even stay long enough to comprehend an instruction, let alone follow through with it. It is expected that at certain age, a child could be engaged by something. When it is hyperactivity in autism, the child cannot even be engaged by an activity. Like if you say, okay, everyone come, take this bell, jingle it and do stuff, a child who is just active will be able to see through and carry on with activities in class or in a play group. But when it is a real hyperactivity, such children cannot even carry through with activities, group activity or solo activities. That is because there is something going on the inside that even themselves do not have control over it. Even themselves cannot just decide not to. Sometimes people suffering from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder will tell you that it feels like just doing the thing that you do not want to do. That what ADHD feels like is going to do the things that you are not supposed to do instead of doing the ones you are supposed to do. So you can imagine yourself being in a situation where you continue doing the things you do not wish to do instead of doing the ones you are supposed to do. When instruction is given, it doesn't mean much to them. It doesn't mean that they do not understand the instruction, but because of their condition, they find it really difficult to follow through with task, to stay put and complete a task. They find it difficult to comprehend, follow instruction, complete the instruction and get through with it. So it is not the most common myth or the most common assumption among parents and carers is that the child does not want to do it. But tonight we are saying, if you're a parent, if you're a carer to a child like that, please understand that it's not like they don't want to do it. It's just that something is not right. Something is not allowing them to follow through with that instruction. Something is not permitting them to follow through with that task and bring it to a conclusion. So a lot of times in my practice, I've seen parents who are distraught. I mean, they are really disturbed. They are really upset that even in school, even in class, a child of 6, a child of 7 cannot sit in class and listen to their teachers. And this is hyperactivity. Hyperactivity is such that these children could barely even sit down to finish their food. Some of them can barely sit down to even have a bath. They could even run away, run away from, whatever is going on. They find it hard to just follow through and get things done. I'm talking about children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or who are just hyperactive as part of their autism, presentation. So when you have such a child, what we are saying is that, number one, it is not their making, it's not by choice. It's not just that a child decided not to obey you. It's not just a child being difficult, just wanting attention. Yes, that is another word that people use a lot. Oh, this child is just seeking attention. No, they are not seeking attention. Nobody wants a negative attention, even a child. Even as a child, nobody wants a negative attention. But because this is something that they can hardly even control, this is something that they cannot fathom how to put it to rest, or maneuver through it. It keeps occurring. It keeps happening. I don't know if you have seen someone who has Tourette syndrome, for instance. When that thing is happening, it's not by choice. They would rather not have it happen. But it happens. It has to happen. So that is how you should visualize people who are having hyperactivity. So the point here is that hyperactivity is something that these children, mostly children, it presents differently in adults, yes. But mostly when they are children, hyperactivity is something that is going on the inside, that they cannot control, that continues to, make them carry out activities that otherwise they wouldn't want to carry, or stop them from carrying out activities that otherwise they ought to carry. Temilade, are you there? Please, if you're joining us on TikTok, tap your screen, like, share the live, and let others come in so we can have a more robust discussion. If you are on YouTube, your comments are welcome. I will continue to answer your question. So now that we have created the background to today's discussion, so what then is causing this in our children? What is it that is going on the inside that will make a child not to be able to sit still, to even enjoy what they love to do, or even carry on with activities, or complete a task, even as far as in schools, in academic environment? What could be the cause? What could be the reason? Why could it be happening? Why is it that the brain is wired differently, and it's not permitting them to fully and gently grasp on instruction, understand them, and carry them out to completion? So what we are saying today, it may not be all, but we will try as much as possible to capture all the possible causes of this condition, because a lot of children suffer, as well as families. A lot of parents, like I said before, are distraught by this situation, because believe me, it's simpler than it sounds. That you are a parent to a child, and every day the school, the authority, or wherever the child is calling you, look, madam, this child cannot cope. Look, madam, this child is not coping. I have a parent that even therapists had to ask her to do something and get the child calmer before they can work with the child. I don't understand if you know the extent of this weight, that even the therapist that is in the best position to support the child is asking you to get the child calmer before they can work with the child. It's heartbreaking, because every other person would naturally just be like, okay, go to the therapist and then they will help you. But this here is the therapist himself asking you to get your child in order before you can bring them to them. It's heartbreaking. So first of all, what causes this hyperactivity in these children? If you're here, you're free to ask your question, join us, be a part of it, and like and share. If you know someone who would benefit, Lily 52134, thank you for joining us. We've been talking on the background. I will still come back to that because I basically don't understand how it works. But yeah, I'll get back to that later. So the point is that when a child is hyperactive, we have established the fact that it is not it's not the child's fault. It's not something they intentionally do. It's not something they just want to, it's not like they just want to disobey instructions, or they just don't want to carry through, or what many would describe as just being stubborn. It is none of those. They are going through things that are not, that are beyond their own control. So from the point of view of a public health nutritionist, we normally would look at the guts. So what is going on in the guts? As a background, I would say that the gut is like a powerhouse. The gut is like the engine room of your body. And no wonder the saying that an angry man is a hungry man is an angry man. It goes a long way to tell you that what is going on in your tummy can actually determine what goes on in your brain. Having said that, so what does that have to do with a child being hyperactive and their guts? Now, we are going to look at just one. Hyperactivity could stem from a chemical that is probably being produced in the gut of your child. We all know how drinks like beer is being produced. Okay, maybe not all of us, but as a food technologist, I have an idea. Alcohol is produced by introducing microorganisms, which is yeast, introducing it to a starch, and then the yeast ferments the starch and produces alcohol, as well as so many other different chemicals that come with it. So can you imagine that some children that are experiencing hyperactivity are actually undergoing brewing process in their tummy? And then you will ask, how is that? Yes, it's true, because when a child is overburdened, has overgrowth of microorganisms, I mean the wrong ones. When a child has overgrowth of microorganisms in their guts, and you feed this child a complex carbohydrate, the mechanism is that this complex carbohydrate does not completely get broken in the small intestine. So they go down to the large intestine where these microbes are residing. And when they get there, the microbes work on them, ferment them, feed on them, and produce all of these chemicals that would make the child seem like they are drunk. They will produce things like alcohol, they will produce things like methane, they will produce all sorts of chemicals that get into the brain of the child and make the child feel like they are not, they make them feel like they are not able to grasp, their immediate environment. I have had several encounters with children who have yeast overgrowth. I had visited one during an assessment, and while I was there, they brought a very starchy food for the child to eat. Believe me, the child wasn't jumping around on my arrival. Then, while I was there, she ended up eating this complex starchy food, and immediately for the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes that I spent in that house, the child never sat down for a minute. She was all over the place. She would jump on the dining table, she would jump on the seats, she would laugh. The laughter is also a sign that the yeast overgrowth is happening. She would laugh, scratch, jump and scream. So all of these started happening after she had consumed the complex carbohydrates, the complex starch. And if you look at it critically, you will understand that as she was eating that food, something else was also happening inside of her body. And that is what we are talking about. We are talking about a child who is heavily overburdened by microbes, by bad bacteria, by yeast, that is really working on complex carbohydrates that the child just consumed and producing all these chemicals that are keeping the child on her toe for hours. And I mean for hours. Such child, I had to leave eventually, but such child, even as the night falls, you will realize that the child is continuously hyperactive. In the morning, when they go to school, they are hyperactive. In the afternoon, when they are having therapies, they are hyperactive because the food keeps coming. Because if you eat breakfast, you're going to eat lunch. So even before the lunch food is exhausted by the microbes, of course, the child must have consumed the even before breakfast is exhausted, the child must have consumed lunch. Even before lunch is exhausted, the child must have consumed dinner or whatever snacks. A lot of children still snack on a complex carbohydrate. So what do? What you do is that if your child is hyperactive, and if it happens to be due to overgrowth of microbes, what you have to is to start learning to reduce the complexity of the food you offer them. What do I mean by complexity? Carbohydrates have different levels of complexity. There's what we call monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide, which is only an indication of how many chains that are in that particular food. Take for instance, if you're eating a ripe plantain, for instance, you are eating more like a monosaccharide. But when you are, because the enzymes have broken down the complexity at that point. But if you're eating, say, an unripe plantain, you'll be eating a complex carbohydrate, which is more like polysaccharide or disaccharide. So that's like the layman's way of trying to define food that are complex and food that are simple. Temilade, do you have anything to offer us at this point? Hello? Okay, so when a child is consuming complex carbohydrates and they happen to have yeast overgrowth, this can be just one out of some other causes of hyperactivity in children. So aside this complex carbohydrate, some children may still be having hyperactivity even if they don't have yeast overgrowth. This can be traced back to a particular food. Food like gluten, for instance. When children that do not have a particular enzyme. This enzyme is known as DP4 enzyme. When children that lack DP4 enzyme consumes gluten, for instance, it produces what we call opioid effect. Opioid effect simply means that the child feels like they are under the influence of substance. So this opioid effect goes a long way to affect the resting state of the child. So if a child who is lacking a DP4 enzyme consumes gluten, for instance, that child could experience an opioid effect even though they are not under the influence of any intoxicating substance. So that is why you see some of these children, it seems like they are under the influence of stuff, but they are not. They are not. It is actually the food they eat that can produce that effect in them. And if you're a parent and you're not aware, you may not be able to relate these two things together. It will be very difficult to imagine that a food that you offer your child could be making that child this restless, this hyperactive, this inattentive, this defiant, because it comes with a whole lot. It's not just about a child jumping, but as they are jumping, they would not even listen to anyone at that point. So it's a combination of a lot of negative behaviors that you see in children we define as being hyperactive. So when a child is lacking a particular enzyme that breaks down the gluten, which is DPIV, that's DP4 enzyme, it's understood that this child is most likely going to get hyperactive when they have consumed a food that contains gluten. And don't forget, it is not just wheat. It's not just when you eat the whole bread or the whole cake or the whole baked products that it happens. No, there is what we call cross-contamination. Cross-contamination can happen in factories where production is happening. Cross-contamination can happen in bakeries where processing is happening. Cross-contamination can even go as far as farm where cultivation is happening. There is also the possibility of cross-contamination in the kitchen where the mom is cooking everybody's food and then with the same pot, and then the mom now cooks the child's food in the same pot. So a lot of times people that claim that they are on gluten-free diet or they are on gluten-free food system are actually not, because a lot of things can still introduce that gluten into your body. So you may ask yourself, so if all of these things are happening, how is it possible that one can actually eliminate gluten if they do not have the DP4 enzymes? There are two ways you can go about it. One way you can go about it is actually just doing your own thing from the scratch, which is very, very difficult. But another way you can go about it is, how about introducing that enzyme? Introduce that enzyme so that you can break down any traces of the gluten that gets into your system. Assuming you ate a food that has a little bit of gluten as an ingredient, or that you ate a food, or your child ate a food that has a cross-contamination during the processing, in the factory, during packaging, during transportation, during storage. If your child eats such a food, you can actually introduce that enzyme as a digestive enzyme. A lot of digestive enzymes have that enzyme as a combo, like as a part of the digestive enzyme to support this process of transition into a gluten-free, diet, whereby even if a child that is on gluten-free happens to eat any food that contains gluten, they should be able to tackle it using the enzyme, the digestive enzyme. Temilade, are you there? Hello? Okay. So I need you to chip in. What do you have to say in based on the two things we have already identified as possible causes of hyperactivity in children? Oh, really? But you are here. You are on, but you are on mute. You are right here, but you are muted. Oh, I had invited you, but you were not there. Okay, so what do you say? We have identified two causes of hyperactivity. One could be as a result of yeast overgrowth, where a child would experience hyperactivity when you introduce complex carbohydrates. And then the other one is when the child is lacking a certain enzymes that is needed to break down gluten, because when the gluten is there and it's not broken down, it kind of produces an opioid effect. I may have to remove you and re-invite you, because as it is now, you are fully in. All right. Are you okay? You are there now.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we have two causes that we have identified. We identified one, which is complex carbohydrates when a child is having yeast overgrowth, and then we also have a situation where a child is lacking the needed enzyme that breaks down gluten. So when this is lacking, the child could have opioid effect as a result of gluten that is lingering in the system, that is not broken down. So what can you chip in for us? Have you met a child that is hyperactive? What has been your experience?
An hyperactive child. Is it autism specifically?
It could be because we started talking about children who are, I should say, who are just naturally energetic. And then we now delved into children who are really hyperactive.
Well, if it's in autism, I would say no. But
Okay?
children being hyperactive generally,
Yes.
when we see children like that around us, we don't even, should I say generally, people don't even have the knowledge about it being a gut issue or not.
Yes.
So generally, people will just say the child is restless, the child is stubborn. They call it ijogbon over here. That is, the child is very, very playful and stubborn and restless. So that's what they will just say generally.
What's the name again you said?
Ijogbon.
Ijogbon.
Like, yes, it means stubbornness.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's a Yoruba term.
Yes.
A Yoruba word, yeah. So that's what people will just generally say, that the child is just being a child, the child is being playful.
Yes.
So yes, so that's the knowledge that people have about it over here, about restless children,
Yes.
hyperactive children, and all of that. They might not necessarily associate it to health
as
issue.
a health condition.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it has become like it's a big challenge even in developed country, you have a lot of children diagnosed as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Sometimes children on the autism spectrum can improve, and their diagnosis could change from ASD to ADHD. In fact, parents will be even happy if the only thing they get is ADHD. But for a child who is neurotypical, getting an ADHD can be, disturbing to the parents. So tonight we have been able to identify some reasons why children can be hyperactive. So the third reason that we have up our sleeve is like scientifically proven, widely published, that colors and colorings that are added to food, some colors, some basic chemicals that are known to be used as antioxidants in food, have actually been identified to be contributing to hyperactivity in children.
Wow.
So colors are very, very, it's a controversial thing. A lot of people consider them as safe, but parents have identified. I'm trying to remember how it's reported in science, in research, when parents are actually the ones reporting what is going on, that their children actually get more hyperactive when they eat certain colors. I remember last year or even early this year that parents took a kind of revolution. Parents took a fight to a very giant food manufacturer to protest.
What was it about?
To protest that the kind of chemicals that are being added to children's food is getting their children very hyperactive in school, inattentive, non-productive. Parents actually went to their headquarters with placards, with megaphone, trying to raise their awareness. Pardon?
Taking such steps. I said they must have done their own research to be
Of
sure
course.
what they are saying.
Of course, it is widely published. It's out there. BHTA, yeah, butyl hydroxytoluene or something in that line. There are 3 of them that are mostly used as antioxidants, but the others are like the colors, like the green, blue, orange, red, blue, whatever, all those colors that they usually add to children's food. They have been identified to be causing a hyperactivity in Nigeria, in children. If you go through our videos,
an alternative for them could be if there could be a natural alternative, because a reason why they would be adding those colorants is just to make the food
attractive, yes,
and appealing to a child.
Yes.
So it's possible their intention might not be to harm the child, probably due to ignorance. They might have done that. So an alternative to still have that colored feel over the foods could be if there could be natural sources that could serve as colors. Yeah.
Yes, in fact, a lot of companies are beginning to rethink along this line, where a lot of health conscious companies are beginning to use things like beetroots to represent red. They now use beetroots to create red color. They use carrots to create orange. Things like
what about turmeric. Turmeric has a great color.
Turmeric is also a very strong color. Even in our own locality in Nigeria, people are using ugu leaves to create green color.
For green
I was
color,
actually doing that when I was home, when I was baking. If I baked gluten-free cake, I was baking gluten-free cake. So if I bake gluten-free cake and there is need, some parents will be like, please make it flashy, make it like you would want to make like all the other cake so that it looks as if it's the same cake that they are eating. So sometimes we use that straight away, or we also use those vegetables as the decoration. Like you cut carrots. There's a way we use carrot to create flowers.
To even make it healthier.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, sometime I would have to repost some of the pictures of the cakes we made. So there's a way you could use carrots to create flowers. You could use grapes. That time we use grapes to create the eyeballs of teddy bear, of bear, the face of a bear. We would use cucumber to create things, just cucumber, carrots, grapes, anything that is really handy. You could use them to decorate the cake, and then children usually would love it still, because it's healthy. They can eat it without restriction. So the point is that a lot of health conscious companies are beginning to improvise. They are beginning to find ways of replacing some of these harmful substances in their formulation. Yes, some government bodies still have not banned them, but some have already started banning or withdrawing them. So a lot of these colors are still considered as safe, but parents already know that they are not the right thing for their children. Parents are fighting. It's either they stop buying, or they like what they did, they carried their grievances to the manufacturers. So if this is happening, of course, as a manufacturer, you would always want to do it right by your consumers. So at this point we have identified 3 things that could be causing hyperactivity in children. We have identified yeast overgrowth. We have identified a possibility of opioid effect if the child lacks the DP4 enzyme. And we have identified the colors, preservatives, chemicals. Is there like any other possibility you could just pull up your sleeve, Temilade?
You mean causes of the
hyperactivity? Yes.
Okay, I'm also thinking, could it, in relation to autism, could it be as a result of the condition itself?
Okay.
Yes, apart from these external factors that you mentioned, could the condition itself cause hyperactivity? Like that could be a cause on its own.
Okay, so you remember our last week or so, we asked a question: is autism a neurodevelopmental condition? Alone. Or could it be physiological?
Exactly.
Could it be genetic? Could it be so that is where I usually get issues, like what exactly is autism? So even when you are saying could it be the condition itself, so what is a condition? What is? Do you understand? So what is the condition? Could it be the condition? Yes, it could be the condition. But from what we analyzed that day, we came to understand that there's practically nothing that is autism as such. That it is a collection of physiological, genetic, environmentally triggered, and so many. You understand? So looking at
So
this,
one
for
can't
instance,
necessarily pinpoint it.
Which is why up to today, scientists are still finding it difficult to say this is what causes autism. And of course, it's only when you find what causes it that you now find what you can use to heal it. So a lot of people are receiving relief. Let me not say healing, cure, because it doesn't count. A lot of people are receiving relief from so many different approaches. So each child is unique in his own presentation. Even the same presentation can have different, cause in different children. Take for instance the discussion tonight. One child could be hyperactive because the child is lacking DP4 enzyme, and another child could be hyperactive because he has yeast overgrowth. Do you see now? So for these two children, you cannot even use the same approach to solve the hyperactivity.
To manage them.
Yes. You cannot use the same approach to manage the hyperactivity of these two children, because one is jumping up and down because he's not breaking down a certain nutrient, and the other is jumping up and down because some things are living inside his tummy that are feeding off of his food and producing chemicals. And another child is jumping up and down because he has too much colors and preservatives in his food. So are we looking at it that way? So when you say, could it be autism? And then I'm like, what exactly is autism? What exactly is autism? So at the end of the day, yeah, that is the dilemma, that is the bone of contention, that is the issue. But anyway, we also see some children that get this hyperactive after consuming considerably large amounts of sugar. I mean raw sugar, like the real sugar, because I'm always having issues with people saying I don't eat sugar when every food you are eating is basically sugar. Everything you put in your mouth is basically sugar. Yes, so when some children consume considerably large amounts of basic sugar, raw sugar, they tend to get hyperactive. And unfortunately, this happens to be the most popular assumption that parents would always... Yes, this happens to be the most popular assumption, that whenever a child is hyperactive, the first thing that the parents does, or the first thing that people around say, oh, maybe he's eating too much sugar, oh, maybe you're giving him too much sugar, you have to stop all fizzy drinks, you have to stop all sugar in his food. Yes, those are truth, those are real. But here we are saying that it is not the only thing that makes a child hyperactive. It is a very popular one. It is sure causing it in some children, but it is not the only thing. So what we are saying here is, parents, as much as you would want to remove sugar, like the plain sugar from children's food, you should also look at all of these other possibilities and try and capture them. Okay, imagine you removed all sugar in a child's food, and then you are giving like rice 4 times in a week, and you don't expect him to go hyperactive. Rice isn't just packed with sugar, it will also feed the wrong microbes if they are there. So you are kind of, you know, rubbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't know if that's the best analogy, but you are doing something and not like getting to the root of it. So tonight we have stated like 4 different reasons a child could actually be hyperactive. Reason number 1, there could be yeast overgrowth. And when there is yeast overgrowth, there is possibility that these yeasts are digesting complex carbohydrates and producing things like alcohol, methane, other chemicals that are making the child jumpy. Number 2, there could be lack of enzymes that is needed to break down a certain food nutrient that if it does not get broken down, it causes an opioid effect, which acts like the child's eye were just blindfolded and then he's just out there like a bull. And then the third one is the possibility that there could be colorings, flavorings, preservatives that are being introduced into the child that's producing that action reaction disposition. And then there is also the possibility of high consumption of basic sugar, which could lead to a child getting really bully. That one is like reacting out of too much energy. That one is more like energy induced. So the cells are hyped, they are pumped energy, they're very available energy that is loose and ready to be utilized, and then you just jam them into the system and it goes, and then the body goes haywire. So out of these four different possible causes of hyperactivity in children, if you're a parent listening, what do you think is happening to your child? Which of them do you think is happening to your child? And have you figured out a way to make it, to find out, first of all, because you have to find out which one is happening. Have you figured a way to find out? And then have you been able to, think about how you can go about solving it? The solutions may or may not be pretty simple, but they are available. The best way to tackle the first one, we usually tackle it using 3 different, coming from 3 different dimensions. The first dimension is trying to starve the yeast. By starving them, you stop supplying them the kind of food they love to eat, which is complex carbohydrates. So you starve them, and then you kind of eliminate them. You eliminate them using antivirals. We usually will recommend very natural and milder ones, maybe not so mild, but natural, things like oregano oil. You use that. And then the third way is trying to overshadow them by introducing the good microbes using probiotics. So if you now introduce large amounts of probiotics, you first of all starve the bad guys, and then you try to eliminate them, and then you introduce large amounts of microbes. Using these 3 techniques, you are sure getting your child or your gut in a very good state. Then, if that is not the case with you, it becomes even simpler. Try and reduce your exposure to gluten. If it happens that you lack the enzymes that break down the gluten, you can and should do 2 things. You try to reduce your exposure to gluten, which is a recommendation. But the second recommendation is reliant on the first one. because you cannot, as it is standing today in the food industry, you may not be able to entirely eliminate gluten because they are everywhere. Yes, they are everywhere. So while you are reducing your exposure, it is recommended that you use something like digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes that contain the DP4 enzyme, you can find it in our shop. Our shop, you get to our shop just by clicking on the link in our bio, not our TikTok shop, because we are yet to process selling supplements on our shop. So if you get to the shop, you will see that we have an enzyme that has DP4, and that DP4 enzyme is something that breaks down gluten and stops your child from experiencing an opioid effect, which is more like a child who is under influence of substance. So if that is the case with you, you are able to do these two things, you should be better. But the third one, where you have, it keeps getting better, right? The third one, where there is a possibility of exposure to colors and flavors, just stop eating those. We have been able to identify good color alternatives, good natural color alternatives that one could use to produce the same effect
But
in
I
food.
wanted to ask, are they written on the ingredients?
Yes.
Okay. In order to identify them easily.
Yes, that's a good question, because a lot of times they come as code. A lot of times you see these colors as code, and then if you are not sure what you are looking at, you may not understand that this is color. So what we advise parents is learn to read labels. In fact, this is risky, but the riskier part is that a lot of people don't even care, even if it is labeled or not. Of course, regulation mandates that you put your ingredients on your label. You'll be shocked at the amount of things that are on the label that you never even get to read. So it's not like they are not telling you. Yes, they told you, they put it on the label, but you don't get to read them. The day I read one, it's not the day, because I read the labels. I was trying to buy a protein bar, a snack bar for my child. Oh my God, when I read the label, I was distraught. I was devastated. I was sad. I was sad for any child that was going to eat that.
Really?
Yes, because so many of these things are actually RAS. Yes, I remember the word we were using in school that time, RAS, regarded as safe. A lot of these things are actually RAS, labeled as RAS, regarded as safe. But they aren't safe. They are not safe. So when it is regarded as safe, you can boldly put it on your label.
Okay. So stuffs that are regarded as safe are not necessarily safe.
That is what we are talking about.
So
now you are catching
why
the
are they
gist.
regarded as safe if they are not safe?
They are regarded as safe because enough research has not shown them to be safe, to not to be safe.
To be unsafe.
Yes. So sometimes you can have a research that is not cohort that was not done directly on human beings, and then some other person will just come and say, look, this thing does not prove anything, you did this on a rat. And then sometimes you could have a research that is just done with 25 people, and then some other person come and say, look, this thing does not represent the population, the sample size is too small. And then sometimes it's actually significant, you see a significant difference, but they say, look, there's only one research done in Okokomaiko in 2013, so it doesn't hold water.
Okay.
I am not right here accusing anybody, but remember also that even as you, as an independent researcher, may be doing your own research, the industry, the manufacturer, the producer is also doing their own research.
Yeah.
And who told you that what you are seeing may not be different from what they are seeing? You might be seeing like this and they are seeing it like this. And it is your word against their word. Even though research ethics states that it has to be reproducible any part of the world. Yeah, no, that's
So
it.
that's
That's
just
just that.
like a conflict of interest, I
Uh-huh.
just think, whereby a manufacturer or a company wants to make profits, and on the other hand, they also want to try to align with what is good for human consumption.
Yes.
So there could be a dilemma sometimes, some dilemma as to what to do. Do we make more profits? Do we do research that is beneficial to us and all of that?
You remember when I was talking about how difficult it can be sometimes to be ethical and yet um and yet gaining from your business,
Making profit.
making profit. So don't think that manufacturers do not face that. Even tiny manufacturer like me, I was facing that. So it's always a battle, and that is why there is even need for regulation in the first place. That's why there's even regulation in the first place, because regulation
And
is
to
trying
some
to
extent
monitor
it
this.
helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
So regulation is in place to monitor these things. So, but yeah, sometimes until regulation catches you, you have to do what you have to do. Exactly, Desili. A lot of them are. But do you know how to identify them? You don't. Because not everybody will come and write for you GMO on top. Like sometimes they use code, which to the food industry is very known. But to the consumer, how many consumers know that a particular color is a particular content?
I think for GMO, it's also a controversial topic actually, in the sense that some people also are of the school of thought that there are no, let's say, enough research to show that they are harmful on the long run, they don't know their impact and all of that. So all these things, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
I get what
So
you're
like,
trying to say, and
but
it's
some
a
other people, on the other hand, will also be like, when you are altering nature, then definitely there would be some adverse effects and all of that, this and that. There's just a lot to say about it.
there is a whole lot to say, and I don't even want to start that discussion tonight because it's a long one.
Actually, something we cannot finish.
It's a very long one, and aside from being a long one, all I can say is that if I'm building this, for instance, with plastic, and this plastic contains like small particles, and then I start changing the makeup of those small particles, do you think that by the time I finish this building I will still get what I always get? No, because I have already modified the makeup of the raw material. Do you get? If you're building a house and usually you mix cement and stone, just for it, I'm not a builder, I'm just putting it, you mix cement and stone 20 to 30, 20 by 30, and then in this particular house you started mixing cement and stone 50 to 10, you think the house is going to be the same? That's all I can say. That as soon as you change a raw material for a structure, you have changed the structure. That's all. But it's going to be a topic here one day. We are going to talk about it. We are not running away from it, but we want to give it enough time. So tonight we have practically listed the possible things that could go wrong, that could make a child really hyperactive. And okay, the final one that we hadn't talked about was the sugar. So we were discussing about how you can, take care of these things. So the sugar aspect is very simple. Just leave the sugar out. Leave the sugar out. Keep it at the barest minimum. The kind of food we usually draw for people, when we draw meal plan, we look at all of this. We look at what are the kind of food you are eating that is not just exposing you to that large amounts of sugar. Yes, it's true, food contain this, but it's not like it's inevitable to eat sugar, but it's not inevitable to put it at moderate, to eat it in moderation. So, but because of misunderstanding, a lot of people believe that they are keeping away from it, meanwhile they are over consuming it. So if you look at the aspect of sugar, for instance, when parents are saying, I see a lot of parents that come, for the past 6 months, 1 year, I have not even offered him a fizzy drink. I'm not even no longer giving him this, but our biggest challenge is still hyperactivity. I understand perfectly, because this child is still consuming food that ultimately converts to the simple sugars in very large amounts, than even you will be shocked when you get to know, in very, very large amounts. So what we do with such children is that, yes, we will definitely cut down on the raw sugar they are eating, but we also draw a meal plan that would make it very, very low, like make their consumption of sugar that would consumption of food that ultimately and rapidly converts to simple sugar. We also reduce their consumption of such food. We also cut them off in their diet. So I believe we have kind of trashed that issue. So if your child is hyperactive, it is left for you now to find out what is causing this hyperactivity. It's not enough to just say, my child is hyperactive. No, don't be like that. From tonight, you would have understood that each child could be having a different kind of thing causing the hyperactivity. So if your child is maybe having hyperactivity as a result of additives, and you just cut down a fizzy drink, and you cut down let's say raw sugar, and then every morning you are giving him all these pops that have the colors of the rainbow, do you think it's going to be resolved? I don't think so, personally. Or if your child is having a hyperactivity based on yeast overgrowth, and every morning you kind of gives him, every afternoon give him like a fufu and a soup, and then you say, I'm not giving him sugar, I'm not giving him colors, I'm not giving him preservative, we are eating natural food. So every afternoon you eat this big bowl of fufu and this tiny amount of soup, and you think the hyperactivity is going to go? I'm sorry, it will not go. It will remain. Hello, faithfulness. How are you? You came a bit late towards the end. We are almost approaching. We are like rounding up now. But we are good. We are happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. So if your child is, for instance, having issues with yeast overgrowth, and you say you are no longer giving him sugar, you are no longer giving him fizzy drink, and then you are giving him or her this gigantic fufu every afternoon, I'm afraid you will still have a child who is hyperactive. It's okay. It's okay. We are good. We are happy to have you anyway. Thank you for coming on. So, and if your child is, for instance, having hyperactivity because of food additives, preservatives, antioxidants, colors, and then you keep supplying this and say, okay, because they said complex carbohydrates, you cut off complex carbohydrates, you cut off simple sugar, you cut off everything, and you still continue giving him food that is ultra processed, highly laden with colors, highly sparkly with different colors and binders and antioxidants and stuff. Do you think the child is going to get better? Maybe, but not an assurance. So tonight we have well, maybe not exhausted. There could still be other causes out there, like Temilade pointed out. What if it is just the autism? Temilade, are you still standing with your submission, or you're changing your mind? What if it is just the autism? But we are saying, what exactly is autism? If you go to our YouTube channel, you are going to see our video on, is autism just a neurodevelopmental challenge? Or does he have other wings and legs and branches and causes? We saw a guest who talked about genetic causes of autism. We saw we talked about someone, we had a guest who talks about how the environment contributed to her child's autism. And we also emphasized on that environmental impact being as a result of a genetic disposition. And then we looked at physiological reasons to many of the presentations. And then we concluded that autism is a multifaceted hydra. It's not just one thing causing it. And as it is, I don't know if there's anything like this I can hold. I say this is autism. Autism is a collection of things. So this part of autism, which is hyperactivity, we have also seen how it can be a collection of things. It can be different things. And it could mean different things for the different children. For different families, you could be battling the same presentation but different conditions. So to parents with children with autism, I continue to say it. If you want to get far, with your intervention, start with a medical test. Start with working with professionals who will guide you on the right type of medical test that you will test your child and find out what exactly is going on. I did it, and I don't want you to do it. Running from pillar to post. If you hear that, Mr. Johnson just took his child and they just went on the beach and they came back and the child started talking and started playing piano, you too, you say, oh, we are going to go and buy a house near the beach so that my child will be walking on the beach every day. I'm sorry, what happened to Mr. Johnson's child may not be what is happening to your child. You might go to the beach and even live inside mommy water and your child will still not get better. So the next day you will hear that Mr. This one just drank Fiji water and the child became better. You could go and drink all the Fiji water in the world and your child may not get better. So the point here is not do not do anything. The point here is find out what is happening to your child before you start doing something, so that you won't just be trying out things, because a lot of people try a lot of things and it work. It's not an assurance that when you try it, it will work for you. So find out who your child really is on the inside using a good medical test and a good laboratory under the guidance of a good professional. Find out what is going on the inside of your own child and know how to tackle it. Tonight alone, we saw 4 different reasons why one thing can be happening in a child. And this can be going on in 4 different child at the same time. And the parents may not know. I might just do the one thing and my child get better, and this parent will say, oh, she just removed sugar and the child got better. What if sugar is not your own child's issue? Anyway, I didn't bring my water bottle. My throat is getting dry. Hello, faithfulness. Do you have something to add to us this night? We would really like to hear your opinion about this. Everyone, Faith is a mental health nurse. She has done this for over years, and believe me, she knows what she's talking about when she contributes to this platform. I don't know if she'll be able to join. She said she was busy. So we are already rounding up. Temilade, anything to add to this tonight?
We've actually said a lot today, and I've picked 1 or 2 things that could lead to hyperactivity.
Yes.
It could be from this overgrowth, as you've mentioned. It could be from the additives, colorings added to foods, especially for children and all of that. And I also was saying, what if
it is just autism
that is causing it? And like you rightly said, there are a array of factors leading to that. So it's not just a specific issue or cause.
Yes.
So there are a lot of underlying causes that one is yet to pinpoint.
Yes.
So just to be on a safer side, one would have to consider all of these factors and put them into consideration. Yeah.
And carry out a medical test to identify what exactly is happening to their own child, so they don't just have to be running around, because by the time you want to do all of these things one by one to identify which one your child will respond to, you will be having a whole lot in your hands. So why don't you just do your test, find out which one is ailing your child, and face it. It's like going on a travel and you just put your GPS and you know where you're going to. Thanks, Temilade. You have been a very valuable voice tonight. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, I understand, Faith. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who has been with us. People on the other YouTube, TikTok, we appreciate your time. We do not take it for granted. But please, spread the message. Thank you. Thank you, Faith. I know. Thank you. We will continue to say it as it is, so that those who are struggling may just understand that, yeah, this whole thing has facets. It has branches. Sometimes it's not as straightforward as it looks. The condition is not as straightforward as it may seem. But yes, that is why we continue talking, so that even if it's one person, 2 people will continue to learn that there are ways you can use to support these children. You don't just have to watch them in pains, because as far as I'm concerned, they are also either in physical pain or frustrated because they are not understood. Just like we feel bad that we don't understand them, they also feel bad that they are not understood. So if there's any way we can relieve their pains, if there's any way we can, bridge that gap, that's all we are saying. That's why we are here. That's why we are, putting these things across to support them. It's not to take away who they are. It's just to support them to live better lives, to connect better, to understand better, so that we can be on, even if not on the same plane, on nearer planes, that we can understand each other. Look, I understand if my child should tell me, I do not want this. That's fine. But what I do not comprehend, like what I find difficult to live with, is that I know that something is wrong with my child and she cannot tell me. Those are two different things. So the fact that the child can say what they want is who they are. But the fact that they are not even able to tell you what they need to tell you is a challenge. So when we are trying to help these children, we are not taking away who they are. We are trying to relieve the challenge they are having so that they will be able to navigate. Life is hard enough for those who can relate, let alone those who cannot relate. So I think I'm becoming emotional. Let's just go and rest. It's past our time. Thank you again for being here. We will meet again. Yes, Tuesday night, Saturday night, every Tuesday and every Saturday. Temilade, thank you for always being there. Mrs. Faith, thank you so much. It is well, oh, it is really well. We will get there. Thank you. Have a lovely night, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Yeah.